And hello and welcome to Hollywood Blockbusters. I am your host, Joe Hollywood, and once again I am joined by Imaginos Pete.
Hey.
Andrew Walker.
Hello.
And joining us today to give us an adult perspective on movies is Robert Butler. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Classing up the joint.
Classy.
I wanted to mix it up a little bit. All right.
This is meant to be our first post-apocalyptic episode, but it never happened. It almost happened over the weekend.
Give it time, man. Give it time. Might still happen. All right. So a while back, we were celebrating milestones this year on Hollywood Blockbusters, and a while back we celebrated the year that was 1995, which gave us some of the greatest movies ever made. But why stop there? Let's go back, not 30 years, let's go back 40 years to 1985, a glorious time to have grown up in the movie theater. I just said to my coworker Joey earlier today, I feel sorry for you that you did not grow up in the movie theaters in the 80s. It was such a great time to be a movie buff. And there are some great movies that came out in 1984, which I consider one of the greatest years for movies ever. And some of those films kind of carried into 1985, which we're going to touch on in a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, 85, such a great year for movies, and number one on my list, one of my all-time favorite movies, definitely top 2 or 3 for me. I remember my sisters dragging me pretty much to the movie theater to see this young heartthrob named Michael J. Fox in this sci-fi movie called Back to the Future, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And went to the what was it? The Abbey Theater, and walked in there and came out mind blown. Had never seen anything like this. Back to the Future just was an instant classic for me. It was released on July 3rd, so 4th of July weekend. So that 40th anniversary of Back to the Future is this 4th of July weekend.
Yep.
And it was directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, who I had the pleasure of exchanging emails with Bob Gale. Had some questions about how and why they chose the DeLorean as their time machine of choice, and it was a lot of fun exchanging emails back and forth. I ended up writing an article about it. Of course, the movie starred Michael J. Fox, who replaced, what's his name?
Stoltz.
Eric Stoltz, that's right. They said that Eric Stoltz was taking the role too seriously, like he was playing a drama, and they realized quickly that it wasn't working out. And they had wanted Michael J. Fox, but he was doing Family Ties, and he wasn't available. And so they took this as an opportunity when they got rid of Stoltz to work out a schedule with Michael J. Fox. From what I read, he would work on Family Ties during the day, and because a lot of scenes in Back to the Future were at night, he would work at night doing Back to the Future. So imagine being young, having that kind of energy, and working from morning till night and sleeping on the drive from one studio to another.
Or to the Twin Pines Mall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did Gale ever explain how they chose the DeLorean? Because it used to be a refrigerator.
They didn't want kids to
exactly
get into a refrigerator.
Yeah, imagine kids seeing Back to the Future and going, look, I'm climbing into a time machine. And it's like, where'd Billy go? So yeah, there was a danger factor with that. And so they went with the DeLorean. The DeLorean Motor Company provided them with several vehicles, and they had their effects team add all kinds of weird little gadgets and gimmicks and stuff on the car. And of course, we all know the DeLorean is powered by the flux capacitor. We don't need to know how or why it works. We just accept the fact that it does. Rounding out the cast was Christopher Lloyd, who was just iconic as Doc Brown. Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover, who gave us a weird, unforgettable performance in that movie.
Yeah.
And one guy who I feel like is not given enough credit for the whole trilogy of films is Tom Wilson as Biff. He was so great in all of those movies, playing different characters, all from the same ancestry.
Oh,
And a wonderful human being.
Yeah. Oh, I've met him several times, and he will make you laugh out loud. If you want him to be Biff to you, he will be Biff to you. And I remember one time I was standing in line. I went to a con in Philadelphia, and I was standing in line to get tickets to get an autograph from Michael J. Fox. And I saw Tom Wilson come out of this curtain, and he's going across the floor with like an assistant. And our line was kind of dividing the room in half, and he just happened to want to pass through where I was standing. And so I give him some room. I had a Back to the Future shirt on. He stops. He goes, "Nice shirt." And I go, "Thanks." And as I go to like shake his hand, he goes to fist bump me, and then I change to the fist bump. He changes to the handshake, and he's like, "What are we doing here?" And he's just like that all the time. He's hysterical.
When I do that with people, I just grab the whole hand. It's like, can't decide, I'll grab.
Yeah. And from what I heard, I think it was Bob Gale who came up with the concept when he was going through his dad's high school yearbook and found his photo in the yearbook and wondered that if he was to meet the high school version of his father, would they get along? Would they be friends? And that was sort of the root of Back to the Future.
Cool. But why did it take that other route in the movie? And we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's when when I'm sitting in the theater watching the movie going, what the hell is going on here? Where is this going? And
I understand the beginning. I wonder what my dad was like when he was high school. Would we be friends? Cool. Hey, side thing. Do you think you'd have the hots for your mom, or your mom would have the hots for you? Well, what? What'd you say? No.
And that's why when they took it to Disney was like, we are not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Then there's some incestual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when they pitched the idea to Spielberg, he had connections with Universal, and so he played a role in getting it produced by Universal.
And then they thought, what else could you do to make it weird? I know, to get my mom and dad together, I guess, sexually harass my mom and have my dad save her. Oh, wow, the therapy on this.
Right. And his name's Calvin Klein. It says it in the
That's right.
Yeah.
In the underwear.
the underwear, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes the movie so weird and so wonderful and so entertaining. Is like, where is this going?
Just Doc, 1955 Doc, just glazing. It was like, all right, I don't want to know, man. I just need to get you back and prevent the time stream from falling apart. And oh man,
that's the other thing. Why and how are this teenager Marty McFly and Doc Brown best buds? Like, I want to hear the backstory on that. Why are they hanging out at the mall in the middle of the night?
I think Gail and Zemeckis, did they explain that at a con? I think someone actually asked them. I think one of them said that they actually had thought about that. I don't know.
Similar interest, really, just interest in science and physics.
Yeah, I mean, he took a shining to the kid.
Right.
Of the family. I guess they came across each other like one summer, and like Marty's supposed to be 17 in the movie.
Huh.
And then he met him when he was like 14 or something. They actually, I'll look it up, but they actually addressed that. Because fans have been wondering exactly what Joe's like. How the hell are these two friends?
Why are they hanging
Why
out?
are they friends?
Yes.
John Mulaney has a bit about that.
Oh, yeah.
It is extremely
Oh, yeah.
funny. I'll find it and share it with you guys.
Well, the movie had a $19 million budget, grossed $388 million. I'm setting you up, Andrew, T-balling the
Now,
line.
that's what I call an ROI.
Nice return on investment. Of course, stellar reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, 93% from critics, 95% from the audience, and one of my all-time favorite movies. And I have just such a connection to the movie. I've visited locations. I've been to the Lone Pine, Twin Pines Mall, where a security guard came over and said, you're not allowed to take photos. And I'm like, it's the Twin Pines Mall, for God's sake.
Wow.
And he's like, all right, make it quick. And
Right.
come on, that's what we're here for. So yeah, I've been to Marty McFly's house. I've been to Doc Brown's mansion. And it's so cool, like stepping into your favorite movie and seeing these locations in person. I even went to the Burger King near the beginning of the movie when Marty grabs the back of the pickup truck and skateboards. There's a Burger King in the background, and I go into the Burger King, and they're like Back to the Future fan? I'm like, yes, I am. So, yeah. And so there's a street in Pasadena where several of the homes are. Lorraine's house is on this street in Pasadena. Marty's dad, George McFly, his house is on the same street. So imagine living on that street and having looky-loos going up and down your street all day long,
That's
taking
worse.
pictures. of
Imagine
these
having people falling out of the tree onto the street
Yeah.
like, I hit another one.
Well, that's the funny thing, too. You remember when George was the peeping Tom and you see Lorraine, like, getting undressed in that window? Well, in real life, when you go to that street, that window has, like, a covering over it because you could imagine all the people trying to look up into that window. And then I've met a large percentage of the cast. I mean, a lot of them do the regular circuit on the con circuit. Even Michael J. Fox, he raises money for his Parkinson's research. So
Yeah.
even though he charges quite a bit of money for an autograph, you know that it's going to a good cause. But yeah, I've met Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Tom Wilson, even Marty's girlfriend. What's the character's name? I forget.
Well, are we talking
but,
about Elizabeth Shue?
No. The first Back to the Future, where she wasn't able to return for the sequel, so they ended up.
Oh, yeah.
Claudia Wells is her real name. I forget what the character's name is, but she signed. This is so cool. When I met her at the Motor City Comic Con, she had a stack of the flyers, the clock tower, Save the Clock Tower flyers, and I said, I got to have one of those. So she took it, and I said, do you remember what you wrote in the movie? And she said, of course I do. So she flips it over. She writes, I love you, and then the phone number, and then she signed her name at the bottom of it. Well, one day while watching Back to the Future, it gets to that scene where you see what she had written on the flyer, and I paused the video and held up my flyer, and it matched exactly. That was Claudia Wells' handwriting on that flyer in the movie.
Nice.
So it's really cool. I have a lot of replica props from the hoverboard and the flux capacitor and the hydrated pizza and all that stuff from the sequels. The movie has just had such a huge impact on me and is part of my fabric. And like I said, one of my all-time favorite movies.
It's one of those movies that actually has one of the audio iconic. You have the lightsaber that when it turns on, and then you have the sound of the DeLorean driving away. That
the electronics
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
And I was just going to say the score by Alan Silvestri
Oh,
is
incredible.
so good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It
I
could
think
easily be like a John Williams score. It's so
could, yeah.
so epic and
It's very
rich.
inspired
yeah.
by it.
there are a lot of similarity. Well, I mean, obviously he did the same thing, but there are a lot of the same notes or whatever in Predator.
Mm.
Like, ding!
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, watch Predator and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
So did this movie have the same impact on you guys that it did on me, or did you have to see it in the theater to really, appreciate it?
I didn't get to see it in theater. I was in India, so I had to watch it on tape when it came out later. But I loved it. I loved the story. It sparked it. I loved the ride in Florida when it was there. I'm so mad that they took it away, and I love the influence. That's the Adventures of Doc and Marty. I mean, these two so unlikely friends, and they're just like flying by the seat of their pants. Inconsistent story, but it's a fun time.
Yeah. Andrew?
I know I'd mentioned this before. It's the same situation with Star Wars. I saw Empire Strikes Back first, and I saw Back to the Future 2 first.
Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with fly, think.
So
Set that up perfect.
So at the time,
That's funny.
we didn't have cable when I grew up, so my parents would just record whatever movie either my dad wanted to watch or that my parents thought that I might like.
Mm-hmm.
And so we watched Empire Strikes Back first. Then I went to the store and rented the first Star Wars. Same thing with Back to the Future, too.
Wow.
So naturally, to this day, that the second one is my favorite for both Star Wars and Back to the Future. But of course, once I watched the first one, I'm like, this makes a lot more sense now.
Exactly. No, I like all three movies, but part two went really, really dark, like surprisingly dark.
Just
Some
like
things you wouldn't
Empire
get away with
Strikes Back.
today.
What's that?
Some things you wouldn't be able to get away with.
Yeah,
today.
exactly. I mean, to insinuate that Biff murdered George to be with Lorraine, I'm like, yikes, that took
It's
a
like
dark turn.
He's like a business tycoon.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't insinuate. He's flat out said, "I'm gonna shot you." They couldn't find the bullet.
He's kind of
Yeah.
like Trump in the 80s.
Yeah.
He was modeled.
Yeah,
he was
after.
modeled after.
Right.
Yeah.
Robert, what was the impact Back to the Future had on you?
Oh, great. It's a film that I grew up with, being an 80s baby. And, I didn't have a VCR until like 92. So the first time I saw this was on TV. It was, chopped together. And I'm like, once Dad got a better job and he got the VCR and the better TV, that was one of the first movies like Star Wars where we get the VHS. And I loved it. I watched that film at least once every quarter, every 4 years or so.
Yeah, it's right up there with the most times I've watched a movie, like
Me too.
Wizard of Oz, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. I've seen those movies countless
I
times.
have most of the lines memorized too.
Exactly. I could mouth the words as I'm watching the movie.
It just comes from a good place. It's so adventurous. It's so exuberant, and every character's colorful. And let's talk about the prom scene. The prom is brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it when Marty McFly gets on there. He's playing like Eddie Van Halen type music. Don't worry, you'll understand it one. You'll like it one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Your
Kids
kids will
love
love
Your kids will love it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Your kids will love it. Yeah, it's a great sequence.
Speaking of the
Marvin
enchantment under
Berry?
the sea dance, but there's a church in Hollywood, the Methodist Church, United Methodist Church on Highland, right off of Hollywood Boulevard, and there's a gymnasium that's part of the church where they filmed the dance. And I walked up one day and was like, "Can I go in and see the gym?" And they were like, "No, this is like a private church." I'm like, "Damn it." So when I went back to LA, I went back over by the church and I saw they were having some sort of an event, and this family went through this gated fence, with a keypad, and as they opened the thing, I pretended I was part of their family and I snuck in behind them, and they turn into this open door, and I walk in and I'm standing in the gymnasium, and I'm like, sweet.
What
So
made
I'm
it
like-
more impressive was a Korean family.
Yeah, right. And so I just start taking photos because I'm like, how long am I going to be able to get away with this? So I'm taking pictures of the stage. And then I got really ballsy and I went up on stage, handed this guy my phone and said, "Take a picture of me on the stage." And so the guy obliged and he took a picture of me, miming like I was playing a guitar.
Nice.
And the guy was a staff person at the church. And so he goes, "Back to the Future fan?" And I said, "Yeah." And I'm thinking, okay, here's where he throws me out. And he goes, "Let me show you around." And he took me on a little tour of the gym. And we went into the stairwell where, Marty says, "If somebody, when he catches the rug on fire, go easy." Like he's showing me where they film scenes and stuff. It was really, really cool.
Nice.
Well,
But-
I just recently saw The Life of Chuck, and there's a great scene in the film where it's a school dance. And every time I see a film with a school dance, I think of Back to the Future, Carrie, and the Virgin Suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Right, exactly. Now, one really cool moment that I had, this is way back in 1990 when I was living in L.A. My aunt and uncle out there said, "Hey, you want to go to Universal Studios for the day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so we go to Universal Studios. We're taking the tram tour. Now, keep in mind, the two sequels, I don't think they had come out yet, but they had just finished filming them. They had wrapped on the sequels.
Yeah, it was 89, 90.
Yeah. And so we take the tram tour and we go between some facades and we come out and we're in the town square. We're in Hill Valley's town square with the clock tower. There's a DeLorean sitting on the set, and I lost my mind. And then we get to a point where you get off the tram and they talk about special effects and how movies are made. And they go, "We need a volunteer." And my hand shot up and they called me. And they take me out of the crowd. I go back. They give me Doc Brown's lab coat. They put on this white crazy wig. And they go, "Okay, stand on this platform." And basically, I'm on the clock tower's ledge. And I got the cable in my hand. I'm trying to put the cable together. And there's those two statues on either side of me. And so they direct the crowd's attention to this idiot on the ledge putting the cable together. And then it gets struck by lightning, and the platform I'm on spins around, and I turned into a skeleton. And I don't have photos of it. I don't have video of it because this was 1990. But it was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced to have stood on the clock tower ledge. It was pretty
That's
neat.
awesome.
Yeah.
Lucky you didn't get struck by lightning.
I mean,
Right.
I saw a situation where a younger person, I'd say under 18 saw Back to the Future on the screen, saw Christopher Lloyd, saw Marty, and goes, "Are they doing a live action Rick and Morty?"
Oh, yeah. Definitely some influence
So
there.
my friend had to call me and says, "You won't believe what just happened." I said, "I wish Nick was here to this." I was like, "Yeah, I would have lost my mind."
They totally ripped this off of Rick and Morty, man.
And I was
That's
like,
hilarious.
Oh, God.
All right. So Back to the Future, my favorite movie of 1985. Now, just for the sake of conversation, the Oscar for the Best Picture for movies that came out in 1985, the ceremony was held in 1986, went to Out of Africa, directed by Sidney Pollack, starring Robert Redford, Meryl Streep. I was surprised to find out that it earned $227 million out of $31 million budget, 62% from critics, which surprised me, but 82% from an audience. And I will say that I have never seen this film. So, Robert, I'm going to defer to you. What are your thoughts on Out of Africa?
I saw it like once, and I liked the scope of it, and it's a handsome-looking movie, and I remember being enjoyable, but it doesn't really stay with me.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't go back and revisit. I own the Blu-ray, and I don't go back and watch it a lot. When I think of '85, it didn't make my list at all.
Yeah.
It's just one of those films. It's not like Amadeus
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Raging Bull
Yeah.
from the '80s, or even Ordinary People, where it's not haunting.
Yeah. Yeah, those movies that you listed, they sort of became part of the fabric of films in the 80s and beyond, and they're looked at as classics. But when someone brings up Out of Africa, I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that movie. I don't know if I'll ever get around to checking it out, but have either one of you guys seen Out of Africa?
No.
No. All right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That was the Best Picture winner.
This is our one chance. Like everyone's like, "Oh, these guys had to." They have Robert on it. Robert gave the only take on. What do you about the rest of you boobs? No.
Now, the next movie on my list, and this isn't in any sort of particular order, but as I was looking at the highest grossing movies of 1985, there were a couple of titles that just sort of jumped out at me like, oh, yeah, I like this one. Name this movie.
We'll never be sick. We won't get any older, and we won't ever die.
Cocoon.
That's right.
I've never seen it though.
No?
No.
Nick, have you seen Cocoon?
My mind, something just happened to my brain. You can identify the quote, but you've never seen the. No, that kind of makes sense. No, I have seen Cocoon.
It's Ron Howard, right?
He directed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that came out June 21st, 1985, directed by Ron Howard, starring Steve Guttenberg, who could do no wrong in the 80s. And then just an incredible cast. Don Amici, Wilford Brimley.
He got an Oscar
Hugh
nomination,
Brown,
didn't he?
Yeah.
Amici.
Jessica Tandy, Brian Dennehy, who was one of my all-time favorite actors, and Tawny Welch, who played the love interest of Steve Guttenberg in the movie, and Alien, beautiful Alien. Little tidbit here, the daughter of Raquel Welch. Were you aware of that? And so it was a modest hit. It earned $85 million on a $17 million budget, and loved by critics, 82%. But I was surprisingly low audience rating of 60%. I really enjoyed this movie. Really, I loved it a lot, and the performances by the seniors, those actors from the golden age of Hollywood, they were so likable, and movie was so much fun, and I really love this movie. Nick, your thoughts of Cocoon?
First of all, I enjoyed the movie. But I had to get past the title. When someone says, "You want to go see a movie called Cocoon?" No, that either sounds like something really gross or something really documentary-ish and boring, like a nature thing. I'm
Or
not,
a horror film.
Yeah, it's either like pure horror, which maybe later, but no, Cocoon, and they're like, no, it's a comedy. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Or dramatic comedy.
Yeah, there were some dramatic moments to it, and when the senior citizens all go to the pool area and they're like trying to crack open the cocoons and stuff, and I think one of the aliens died, and then they had to put them back in the ocean for a little bit. And they took it surprisingly well. The aliens were like, well, I guess we have room on the ship now if you want to come back with us. And I'm like, really?
And it's a silly thing on my end. I had a personal like I was antagonism towards Brian Dennehy because I didn't like what he did to Stallone in First Blood. I thought he was an ass so I didn't like the guy, and I was young, so I was like, when I saw this guy, I'm like, I don't like you. You're still that dude.
It's hilarious.
So then my brother's like, it's not the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I know, but geez, he has that punchable face.
Stop booing him. That's hilarious. So Andrew, you never saw it. Robert, your thoughts on Cocoon?
So TV20 back in the day, WXLN.
Oh, sure.
I was the first time I saw it because I'd be at my grandma's house visiting, and we'd watch the Saturday matinees, and I remember watching that with her.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly of them going into the pool, and they get younger.
Yep.
And it always stuck with me.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
image, and I watched it again years later, and it's just amazing, like how out of Africa, I can't really tell you anything that really stuck out to me, but Cocoon, there are images and scenes that stuck with me even watching it at 6 years old that I remember now. But I would like to actually watch it again. But it's definitely a unique film. It's got a lot. It says a lot about mortality and aging, and like a curious case of Benjamin Button kind of has some of those plays with some of that angle too.
When they pitch this, they just say, it's a sci-fi fountain of youth.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Water's used as a metaphor a lot, and then it
it
reverses the tide, and we see them kind of deteriorate. There's consequences to their youth, as we see in the film, which was handled with a lot of complexity.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Wilford Brimley was like 40-something in that movie.
He was never young in his life.
Yeah,
I'm
he
convinced.
was born with a mustache. Like
49.
49 in Cocoon. Man,
It's like Patrick Stewart. He always looks the same.
yeah.
No, that reminded me of that SNL sketch when Will Ferrell comes out as a fully grown man in like the delivery room. It's like, he comes out. This and people are like,
It's hot in there.
Yeah. I was like, Brimley, were you ever young?
Yes.
You know what? I've over the past couple of years, I've let my beard grow out a little bit, and one time it was getting a little too bushy, so I started just trimming it. I didn't want to shave it up, but I was trimming it. But I was deliberately avoiding the mustache area. And when I looked in the mirror, looking back at me was Wilford Brimley. I'm like, oh, no, when did this happen? And one of these days, maybe when Motor City Comic Con rolls around, I'm very tempted to wear like a Panama hat, Bermuda shorts, like a Hawaiian shirt, get a towel and flip-flops and walk around the con as Wilford Brimley in Cocoon.
If you do that, let me know. I'll say, oh, my God, hey, do you know that's Wilford Brimley over there? And we can start a thing.
Yeah.
I'll have like an alien helium balloon like hovering over me, that sort of thing.
I was like, is Mr. Brimley's table set up? Oh, no, we'll set up right now.
I might make a few bucks.
And
Yeah.
Joe, this is twice now we brought up Ron Howard films, because in '95 we discussed Apollo 13. And
Yeah.
So this is one of his more interesting films.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
sci-fi
know. He died in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, he was around. It seemed like forever.
Yeah, you should go and tell people, whisper in people's ear when he's walking, he faked his own death. He faked his own death.
No, I went to the planet and got rejuvenated, swam in their waters.
I just saw that somebody else who we just mentioned was originally supposed to direct Cocoon.
It sounds like a Spielberg movie, but who was it?
You're very close. Who did we just
Luke?
talk about?
What's that?
Zemeckis.
Zemeckis almost. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I could see that. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
his two previous films before that didn't do well financially, so they're like,
Oh, right.
we're going to bring in Ron Howard.
Yeah, like Used Cars. I know that didn't do well at the box office, but it is a classic. If you haven't seen Used Cars with Kurt Russell, that's a Zemeckis film, and it was great.
The same thing happened when they were filming Solo. They didn't like the way that the directors were doing. Like, hey, let's bring in Ron Howard.
Yeah, right. All right, the next movie. I'm going to throw this out here, even though it's not necessarily a favorite of mine. What movie is this from?
Goonies.
Oh,
Now, I never saw Goonies in the theater. I watched it when I was on cable, and I just didn't get the appeal. It was loud and just so much going on. But when I bring that up to friends, they're like, you're out of your gourd. You're out of your mind. People adore Goonies. They love Goonies. It sort of embodies that mid-'80s movies thing. It was
the adventure.
Yeah. It was released on June 7, 1985, directed by Richard Donner. He's the same guy that directed Superman,
Yes,
right?
the first two Supermans. Yep.
Screenplay by Chris Columbus, who went on to have some success with the Harry Potter movies. Starring, again, incredible cast: Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, Corey Feldman, Cary Green, Martha Plimpton. And I should have looked up the pronunciation. How do you pronounce Short Round's name? Do you know all that off the top of your head? Kiwi Kwan? I'll have to look that up. My apologies, Short Round. And Jeff Cohen is.
I know what you're talking about. I can't pronounce it. Sorry.
I feel bad.
He was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And
Yeah.
Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
exactly. Yeah, he was Short Round. Yeah. Jeff Cohen is Chunk. The great Ann Ramsey is Mama Fratelli.
Joe, can you do your impression?
What? Owen. Yeah.
Well, remember you had a snippet. From a while ago.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but we came to the conclusion that she may have inspired Cartman on South Park because when you think about it, they sound exactly the same. Yeah. She was great in that. And then the former football player, John Matuzak, was Sloth in that film. Earned $125 million on a $19 million budget. Stellar ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. A little lower from critics, 77%, but 91% from moviegoers. And I tried rewatching it. I'm like, what am I missing? And I rewatched it just a couple of years ago, and I had the same opinion. It's just not for me. It's just too much like stimulus. Like I was overstimulated watching this movie. Nick, your thoughts on Goonies?
I love Goonies.
I knew you were going to say that.
I love the Goonies. It was just first of all, I saw it when I was a kid. So the whole
and it's really geared for
it's geared for that like 8 to 16 or 17, 8. Like that's the target audience. You find a treasure map. Oh my god! And you're going, and everyone has to go through like these. And I wanted to be not Data. Like that was Kiwi Kwan's character.
Yeah, with the gadgets and stuff. Yeah.
And he had
Robert Davies in it too.
Yeah, I mean, and look, and he had Cyndi Lauper doing one with the like she did the
singing the
song.
theme song.
The theme song, and they got the money in the end. They saved their town. It's one of those adventure movies. What I love about 85, like this is one of those things. 85 is like one of the best wine tasting buffets. If you were combine the two, you want adventure, you have adventure. You want horror, there's horror. You want drama, there's drama. You want comedy, there's comedy.
Something for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, 85 reminds me of the current NBA champions. You had SGA, who's Back to the Future, and then a supreme cast. Like there's not a lot of big heavy hitters box office wise in 85, but as a team, like as a year, you could go 30 movies deep for iconic stuff.
Great bench.
Yeah, and also, there's so much depth in that year.
Yeah,
I when I was doing the research, I'm like, that movie's in 85. Oh my god, they were just movies that Silver Bullet. I mean, we'll go through them, but I mean, no, I love the Goonies. I'm glad there wasn't a sequel.
Yeah.
Well,
but now
is there talk of one?
Yeah,
and they're bringing the whole team back now, and I'm so nervous.
We'll see.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do this?
It'll be their kids. Getting into mischief, finding stuff out.
Look, I don't mind if you want to reboot it for a new generation. We're 40 years back. Okay, I'll watch my Goonies, and you can do whatever you want with this one.
Yeah,
have fun. But they're bringing the cast back, and I'm going. So you have to like stake me in the heart like a vampire. Like there he is. So I'm not confident at all.
Do you think Sloth ever had a kid?
Yeah, he's a baby. You have a baby sloth. If they were bringing the movie, really will.
I mean, it's the 80s. Look,
yeah.
When people ask me what my retirement plans are, I pretty much tell them Sloth from the Goonies. I'm just going to be in someone's shed, shackled to a chair, watching an old black and white TV. Hope some chubby little kid rescues me. That's right.
This seems more vitriol in this for a child movie.
That's about my budget. Robert, your thoughts? Oh, wait, did we skip over you? Andrew? What are your memories of seeing Goonies for the first time?
I've seen it once. Trying to remember. I think my ex made me watch it with her because she liked it when she was a kid. I don't have I don't know. Nothing about it really like stood out.
Really? That's shocking because she made you watch it. I mean,
yeah.
When you're like gun to the head, I want you to watch this movie and have some fun.
It's like Clockwork Orange. His eyes are propped open.
Yeah.
I was watching that in between, like, what's the Kristen Stewart vampire movie?
Twilight.
I was watching that between Twilight and Harry
Oh my
Potter
God.
that she would make me watch. So whatever.
What
But
deranged
no,
cocktail is this?
No, I
Yeah,
mean
right.
it wasn't bad from what I remember. It's just one of those movies. I think if I would have seen it when I was 8,
Yeah.
it would have, I
True,
would have
yeah.
kept. I would have liked it, kept with it, but it just didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, that's it. I'm such a fanatic for the 80s and 80s movies, and when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, you must love the Goonies," and I'm like, "It's funny you should say that." Robert, your thoughts on the Goonies?
I'm with you, Joe. Sorry, Nick.
I don't mind being the lone hold on this.
I will say I respect it for being an iconic movie. It's certainly beloved, and I could see why. It's got amazing set pieces. It's if you grew up with it, it's got that nostalgia charm to it. It's got colorful characters. It's got great prosthetics and stuff like that. But just never did anything for me.
Yeah,
It just
Yeah,
I
the
watch it.
same
I'm
way.
like I don't really even as a kid I was like I just want to watch Star Wars. Give me my Superman and
Look,
comic books.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree with one thing. The stakes weren't exactly like, oh, we all have to move away. They're going to pay us some money. We all have to move away, and we'll get together in reunions and 5 years. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not like the end of the world or something.
Yeah.
Like our biggest things, they'll make us move.
I just kind of find it stale.
Yeah.
Like dull. There's there's no energy to it. It's just
Well, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
on that one. I think I own it in my DVD collection because I feel like I'm supposed to have it. I'm supposed to own it, but
it's a
I
movie
don't-
you're supposed to love because
Exactly.
you're told.
It's like a token 80s friend. We all know it. Don't
Yeah.
I mean, well, I'll go to your places at some point and be like, oh, they have a diverse library. Like, no, that's there just because it's like
and he's right because I own it too.
it's
I have a Blu-ray of it. I'm
this,
like,
this is like the film version of affirmative action. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
this is. It's like you are forced to have it on there.
yeah, because I watched it as a kid. I didn't really get into it. I thought it was like okay, Joe. And then I recently went back and watched a bunch of '80s films, and I had the same reaction. It
Yeah.
just wasn't
That's how
doing
I
anything
felt.
for me.
If you
yeah.
only
Yeah.
had room for 100, that took a spot of one of your favorites, so you all resent it.
yeah, we got it for probably $7 or $8. I know I did, right, Joe?
That's right. That's right. All right.
Robert hates it so much he'll only have a bootleg version on there, recorded with a camera sideways with the tilt on there. Like that's what you deserve, you people.
Now let's talk about one of the most iconic movies to come out of the 80s. I was going to kind of save this clip for the end, but let's start off with this.
But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain and an athlete
And a basket case. A princess.
and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
It's where you throw your fist in the air and freeze frame. I remember seeing this movie in the theaters, and it's such a simple film. One setting,
Right.
90% of it's in the library. Part of it is just running around the school, and just a different character representing a different clique. And I when I was in high school, I took pride in the fact that I got along with all the different cliques. I was friends with jocks, nerds, geeks, you name it. And so I kind of related to this movie. I felt like there was a part of me in each one of these characters. And of course, we're talking about The Breakfast Club. It came out early in the year, February 7th, 1985. John Hughes classic, written and directed by John Hughes. Again, a cast that everyone went on to bigger and better things. Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, and Paul Gleason as Principal Vernon. Now, this kind of surprised me. I looked this up, and I thought this was a mistake. But it earned $51 million on a $1 million budget.
Oh,
$1 million.
an ROI. Yeah, that's super cheap.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
But then I was talking to my coworker, and he's like, well, it was just all set in one location. And
Handful of characters.
and they were all pretty, much newcomers to
Yeah,
this
nobody
film.
got paid that much.
Molly Ringwald was known for Facts of Life at this time, so yeah, it's not like it was full of A-list stars and stuff. So, but that shocked me. A $1 million budget, and
Yeah.
they went on to earn $51 million, and it's just a beloved classic. I mean, when I talk to young people today who are like, "Oh, I love the '80s," and I'm like, "Well, what movies do you like?" "Oh, The Breakfast Club." Like it's the first movie out of the mouth of these youngins who look back with nostalgia at the '80s, and again, I saw it in the theater, just absolutely loved it. It just had a huge impact on me. It just spoke to me. Some of it doesn't really feel politically correct today. Judd Nelson's character did some questionable things in the movie that I don't know if you would put in a movie today, but when you think of the 80s, you think of The Breakfast Club. It just really is a time capsule of kids and students and fashions and trends for the mid 80s. Nick, your thoughts on The Breakfast Club?
I might be on the other side of this one now.
Uh-oh.
Because I remember watching this movie and I was like, well, I don't relate to any of these kids.
Yeah, I guess that was
I was like, oh no, what problems? I'm like, what a nice library. And I was watching with a buddy of mine who came from like a not well-funded school. He's like, man, I don't know, man. There's a bunch of white people just complaining about their parents. And I was like, yeah, I mean, he's like, man, but look at that library, man. It got 2 floors. And look at it stacked.
You want to be there.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm like, that's a nice library, man. I'm like,
Not being in detention.
yeah. But no, I mean, look, the teen angst, I mean, you do, wanting to fit in, you get peer pressure. There are some universal themes about that, no matter where you are, about wanting to fit in. So that part, I as I got older, I enjoyed that about Breakfast Club. And, some of the iconic stuff in there. But I could also see like at least 3 or 4 of them going like full MAGA as they get older. Like when they get I'm like, I see some, like I can see where you might be heading up. You're at least a George Bush. You're at least a George Bush, 3 of you. A couple of you might just be like, nah, I'm more libertarian. And one, I think, what's her face?
Molly or
no, not Molly, the other one.
Ali Sheedy's character.
I was like, I could see you going a little bit more Bernie.
That's true. Even though they tried to change her from who she really was. That was one part of the movie. In hindsight, bugs me now that instead of accepting her for who she is, they're like, let's make you look more like Claire. And I'm like, that's not a great message. Some stuff like you were talking about, how does it age? But yeah, look, in hindsight, I could see it. It's still iconic. You can't deny that. But as far as how it related to me, I was like, initially I was watching, I was like, what is happening right now? Why are we watching this?
Right.
One point in the movie that's a bit of a gut punch, and I don't know why it spoke to me so much, but toward the end of the movie, they've all bonded and they're all kind of sitting around having a conversation. And I don't know if it was Anthony Michael Hall's character that was like, come Monday, are you going to say hi to me in the hallways? And Molly, Claire, the character, was like, probably not. And I'm like, God, that's brutal to share this experience together, but come Monday, you're going to roll your eyes when he waves at you,
I thought kind of undercut. I'm like, I thought you'd all grown, but apparently you're just going back to being a bitch at the end.
Yeah, that was kind of a nasty moment. Like, I don't think we were going to be friends after this.
And then they got her to change over to be more like Claire. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so not great messages in this film, but again, a time capsule.
And who was Bender fist pumping to at the end? Because that was a weird time to fist pump. Like
the story goes that when they were filming this closing shot, they were trying some different things and nothing seemed to be working, and so they were like, Judd, just come up with something. And so he's walking toward the camera, throws his fist in the air, freeze frame, became an iconic poster moment. So why? I don't know.
I guess they didn't want him to light a cigarette because that would have been weird. The freeze frame is like click, something like because everybody smokes. It looks cool. He gets a lighter. He just does like that, and you're like, oh, don't make that the poster.
Yeah,
just like this. He does this weird fist bump. I'm like, why?
He's celebrating.
He kissed her a long time ago.
Victory. They stuck it to Principal Vernon at the end there. Andrew, your thoughts on The Breakfast Club?
I saw it once. A previous girlfriend before the last one made me watch it.
Boy.
In college. Probably 20 years ago. I really liked it. We watched 16 Candles, this, and I think St. Elmo's Fire, all in like one weekend. And I liked all of them. I thought they were like a perfect encapsulation of what I thought the 80s was,
Yeah.
But I was just looking up. So $1 million in 1985, what would you think it would be today?
3 or 4 million, probably.
3 million.
Okay.
So
that's the exchange on that. So it's still
very
super
light,
cheap. Yeah,
it's still.
And then also I was looking at John Hughes to see what he did before Breakfast Club, and it was all he had directed was 16 Candles.
Yeah,
but that movie had $6.5 million budget. So I wonder why he dropped it
More locations,
yeah.
I guess.
More locations and more personal story.
I
I
Yeah.
think
thought
he
that
wrote
was-
this one first, did he not?
I don't know if he wrote it first, but directed it second.
And when you have a limited setting and not a lot of extras, does that mean a limited crew too? You don't have to really go through.
Yeah,
I would imagine, yeah.
yeah, because you have more second unit stuff, so this will be less second unit stuff.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I found kind of odd researching it a while back was that John Hughes, who you would imagine would be considerably older than his actors. I mean, like, I think for 16 Candles, Anthony Michael Hall was like 16 or 15 or something like that. He was like really young. But he had this weird bond with the actors, like he felt he was one of them. And after doing several movies together, Anthony Michael Hall, Molly Ringwald, they were like, well, we want to move on to other things. And he took that personally. Like he was hurt, and he pretty much like stopped doing movies like this because he felt like these actors had betrayed him. And I'm like, that's really kind of odd and weird that he had this connection to these teenagers when he was considerably older than them. So I always found that kind of odd.
He was 35 when Breakfast Club came out.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Robert, your memories of the Breakfast Club?
Well, it's one of those bizarre things where I recently went back and watched it probably about 4 or 5 years ago because I went on a whole 80s binge
Nice.
afterwards. But it is one of those movies, and you kind of brought it up, Joe, where a lot of stuff is dated, politically incorrect now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels timeless at the same time. It doesn't. It's really bizarre. I guess it's like a movie like American Beauty in a way, where it's like, hey, you wouldn't get away with this now, but it still holds up well. And I think it's a testament to the actors.
Oh, sure.
And the directing and the writing. And there's in every character, depending, they're very flawed people. They all have their own temperaments.
Yep.
They all have their own insecurities as they come out, but everyone resonates, and they all have a shining moment of emotional depth. There's a lot of emotional truths about that. And you know, you brought it up. Or you know, Remember Me Monday. She says probably not, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. We don't like to hear that, but there's a bleakness to it.
It was honest, yeah.
And I like that sincerity to the film.
Yeah.
I mean, they covered a lot of issues. They covered, thoughts of suicide, depression.
Oh gosh, yeah. There's a lot of despair.
Child abuse.
Yeah.
Putting cigarettes out on him.
Yeah.
Childhood trauma.
Yeah.
You know, the wrestling angle. Emilio Estevez was really interesting. Why is he really wrestling? There's a lot of angst with his father that he has.
Yeah.
Puts that out in the mat. Yeah, there's some. Even though they covered up with a lot of charm and wit, there's still an underlying complexity to it that I admire.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about seeing that movie at that point in my youth, up until then, I was drawn to, sci-fi, action, epic, Star Wars, Close Encounters, you name it. That's what got me into the movie theater. Now, all of a sudden, I'm watching this character-driven piece with a slow pace and loving it. And I'm like, what's happening to me here? And I think that was like a step into adulthood. Like I started to appreciate movies like that more, not just the cartoony sci-fi stuff. Right. So yeah, it was a big part of my youth.
Definitely one of the standouts of '85.
Yeah. Speaking of standouts of '85.
Have a nice day.
Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent you.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure came out in 1985, August, directed by Tim Burton, who might not necessarily be everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoy his stuff. Written by Paul Rubens and Phil Hartman, among others. Starring Paul Rubens, Elizabeth Daily as Dottie, Mark Holton as Francis. Earned $41 million on a $7 million budget. 88% from critics, 79% from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a weird movie. It's a silly movie. It's a road trip movie, which I tend to be drawn to. And it became one of my all-time favorite movies. And, of course, he had a Saturday morning show. With this, the character of Pee Wee Herman was created as part of an improv comedy troupe, and then he created a stage production with his friends and fellow improvers to kind of host this Saturday morning live action sort of a thing. And it just became a big part of pop culture in the 80s. I would get up early on Saturday mornings to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. I just couldn't get enough. And I was so shocked years ago, my niece, who might have been 12 or something at the time, I said, we were talking about movies. I said, what's your favorite movie? And she said, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, that movie still speaks to young people who see it today because it's just so odd and weird and wonderful and funny and so many classic moments that people bring up all the time. And I am absolutely blessed. A few years ago, I went to the L.A. Comic-Con, and making an appearance there was Paul Reubens. And so I walk in, he's standing there, dressed as Paul Rubin, not Pee Wee Herman. And I said, man, you're making my week, my month, my year. And he says, wait, don't tell me your name is Joseph. And I said, yes, it is. How can you possibly know that? And then I realized I had a name tag on. And so as I'm laughing from that, he makes this weird face as they snap the photo. And that's what I have over by my desk here in my office. And people always go, why is he making that face? And I'm like, he's just being funny. He's just trying to make me laugh. And so I was so grateful to have that fleeting moment with the great Paul Reubens. And I had no idea that he was as sick as he was, and ended up passing away a couple of years ago. And I was heartbroken. Like, when you talk about celebrity deaths that really have an impact on you, when I heard the news that Paul Reubens had died, I was like, no, what? I just, the world is a less joyful place without Paul Reubens and Pee Wee Herman. And I really miss the guy, but I absolutely love the movie. It's so much fun. Nick, your thoughts on Pee Wee's Big Adventure?
I saw it once, and I remember it clearly because I saw it right before Home Alone, when I went to go see Home Alone in theaters. It was like 91, or late 91, late 90, early 91. And the line that always stood out for me when she's, I forgot the lady's name, she's asking him, don't you want to see the rest of the movie? Why? I lived it. And I'm like, that's a great line. And that's all. I don't know if anyone's ever used it before, but I gave, always in my mind, I gave him credit for that. I was like, Pee Wee. Yeah, that's a mic drop. I'm gonna file that away in my little brain.
Always randomly, I'll like be someplace and I'll hear this voice in my head go, Mr. Herman, paging Mr. Herman. How they dubbed in his voice in the film within the film. It was so damn funny.
I never saw his show because I wasn't around for so I never got a chance. I never had the opportunity to
so good.
It's so
to
good
see it on Saturday mornings. But I saw the movie, and I was laughing. I said, "This guy's so weird. What is with this guy?" Because I had no context.
Yeah.
So I was like, "This is so weird." But when he had these moments of just, I mean, the comedy was great. And like I said, that line, that's probably like only one of two lines that I can remember from that movie. But I love that line so much. Why would I? I lived it. And everyone's copied that. I've seen that line used before. So I don't know if anyone's used it before him, but that's my patient zero for that line.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of classic lines in this, like when Dottie's trying to ask him out, and he's like, I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel. And then when he goes to Texas, there's the Alamo, references, and where are you? I'm in Texas. And then he yells out the line, the stars at night are big and bright. I mean, it's
in the heart of Texas.
It's so many classic lines and moments, and we really get to explore Warner Brothers Studios as he's trying to get his bike back, and he's giving everybody, the security guards, a big chase around the Warner Brothers Studios.
And that's about my life.
Yeah, that's such a classic Hollywood thing, like when you get to explore the studio because you're trying to evade the guards or whatever. It's so cool. I love seeing that behind the scenes look. Andrew, your thoughts on Pee Wee's Big Adventure? Uh-oh.
I mean, I'm cheating because I can see his list.
It's hard for me to make any sort of like top 10 list. I always struggle with it. But it might be my number one movie of all time.
Wow. That's awesome.
Absolutely loved it. It was one of those movies that like I talked about with Back to the Future, Empire Strikes Back. They recorded it, and I had it on VHS.
Yeah.
And there were parts that, like every 15 minutes, there were like a couple seconds of the movie that are missing, because whoever was recording it, either my mom or my dad, would stop it so it wouldn't record the commercials. Do you remember having to do
Oh
that?
yeah.
And then hit play and record at the same time when it came back on.
That's
so
funny.
It wasn't until I got the DVD. I never had it on VHS, or I never had the
full unedited. Yeah.
So when I finally got it on DVD, there were a few seconds here and there were like, oh, I've never seen this before. And I was like, 20 or whatever when I.
Yeah.
But no, I saw it super young. It had to have been the network TV premiere, probably like in 90 or 91. And then on the VHS, I still have it. After the movie ends, there's an episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse right after it. No, this movie, it's one of those movies on one level, it's so innocent. I don't even think there's a single swear word in it.
Oh, no.
I could be wrong.
Nothing. No.
There's not. Yeah.
But there are certain scenes
Suggest.
that make the movie overall, it's so subversive at the same time.
Yeah.
And the juxtaposition of that in and of itself makes me love this movie. And then the scariness of Large Marge when she, the stop motion
with the eyes.
Yeah.
When he's walking down the alley and those guys are about to jump him.
Yeah.
The main guy is played by Tim Burton.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he goes,
I know exactly where that was filmed. I was touring Warner Brothers one time, and we went into that alley, and there's a lot of movies were filmed in that alley. The Upside Down Spider-Man Kiss was filmed in the alley. Prince's Purple Rain album cover was shot in that alley.
They lived too.
Yeah.
When Roddy Piper fights David.
Oh, when they're fighting that
5-minute
fist fight.
Yeah. So it's an iconic film location. And so the last time I watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I'm like, I know exactly where that is. And, have you guys ever seen a movie where within the first few minutes, you're like, this might be one of the greatest movies I've ever seen? The whole him waking up and making breakfast.
The Rube Goldberg machine that makes him. Oh, yeah.
And then
absolutely.
and Mr. T cereal, I pity the fool. And then he eats like one piece of cereal and he takes a napkin and gets up and walks out. Minutes into that movie, I'm like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
And then, I could go on for 2 hours about this movie. The scene when he walks into that bar.
Yeah. I'm trying to use the phone.
And you think they're really going to kill him. But then in his mind, he goes, oh, man, I got this great idea. I'm going to put on these
white shoes.
Yeah, these high heel shoes. I'm going to put on the jukebox tequila.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the fry cook, I can borrow his shoes. This will get me out of this. And it works. And then they give him a jacket and they give him a freaking motorcycle.
And what does he do with it?
6 seconds into it, he crashes into the sign.
with that funny helmet.
And that was so unexpected when he just drives through that billboard. It's like, that's hysterical, man. It is. It's one of the funniest movies ever made. Definitely a top 10 comedy for me. And yeah. Robert, your thoughts on Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yeah. The funny story about that film is I actually remember Andrew loving it when he was a kid. The show, too. Did you not watch the show back then?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I was allowed to watch it, but then when he got in trouble, the movie theater, Paul Rowan, my parents won't let me watch it. Like, he's a pervert. He's probably doing perversion in this. I mean, there is some subversive stuff in it, but it's innocent, though.
There's always a big butt.
You remember that line?
Once we got that VCR, I rented it. And, my parents had their little strict age where they were monitoring my comics, but they understood I loved cinema, so I've always enjoyed that film. It's so visually inventive.
Yeah.
It really is.
Colorful.
Yeah.
And
it launched. It was a great precursor to what Tim Burton could do.
Yeah.
And we saw what he did after that. Batman and Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands up to Ed Wood. It's just a great visual artist.
He was only 26 when he made that movie.
Right.
Think
Paul
about
Rubens.
how awesome that movie is and being 26 years old and making that.
Now, Tim Burton was 26?
Yeah.
He was really young there during that. Fresh out of
I had no idea.
film school.
Wow.
And what I also like about the film, too, is just there's some satire in it. I like the meta stuff, the film within the film, poking fun at Hollywood. And also, it's timeless because the prejudices that film explores and how judgmental and people are at first appearance and stuff like that still resonates today.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very clever movie. And it's really stood up well and probably easily one of Tim Burton's finest.
And the fact that you have these grown adults playing these childlike characters, like when him and Francis are going at it. I know you are, but what am I? And it's like they're grown people, but they act like children, and we don't question that.
Yeah, we don't. Every kid was quoting that back in school back then. You guys say, whatever bounces back at me sticks on you. Add other extra things to the
That's
quotes.
right.
Yeah.
Listen to reason, Pee-wee. Shh, I'm listening to reason. Now, you brought up the Paul Rubens scandal. I don't know if you guys ever heard the story behind that. So, he got caught doing what he did in the movie theater, got processed and booked and all that. Nobody would have ever known about it if it wasn't for one small-town reporter in that city in Florida. Paul Rubens' parents lived in Florida, so I think he was staying with them
Sarasota,
at the time.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Sarasota.
And so this small-town reporter would go to the police station, look at the blotter, see who's been checked in, looking for, politicians or the mayor. Did they get in any trouble the night before? And she was a Pee-wee fan. And she sees the name Paul Rubens on the blotter. And she's like, this can't possibly be Pee-wee Herman. What would he be doing here? And she looked into it, looked at the mugshot, saw that was him. I don't know if she was responsible for putting the mugshot on the wire, but then the Associated Press picked it up and it just blew up. And if it wasn't for this one small town reporter, it would have been swept under the rug. Nobody would have known. And she basically ruined his career for a good decade or more.
Right.
And then I remember there's like the MTV Movie Awards or something, and Paul Rubens came out on stage dressed as Pee-wee. It was like his first appearance after the scandal. And he goes up to the podium and he goes, "Hear any good jokes lately?" And the crowd busted out laughing, and he began the second phase of his career after that. But that was devastating. So, yeah, really fascinating. I want to talk about one more movie before we go around the table. I have some other movies on my list, but there's one movie. I'm not a huge horror movie guy, but I can come up with a list of 10 or 20 horror movies that I really, really love. And this movie is hands down my favorite horror movie of all time.
Welcome to Fright Night. For real.
I saw this movie in the theater, not knowing what I was getting myself into. And it hits the ground running. Like, there's not a wasted second of this film. Right at the beginning of the movie, you're like, oh, vampires moving in next door. And I absolutely, upon the first time seeing it, fell in love with this movie. When it comes to horror movies, I like when there's humor infused, like Abbott and Costello meet, Frankenstein, or, movies along those lines that have humor and horror in it. And this movie was funny. It was terrifying. Again, it was just another great time capsule for the 80s, the music, the fashions, all that stuff. And I absolutely love this movie. And I owned the poster for a while. If you guys can visualize the poster, there's like the house with this mist and vintage. I'm like, I can't hang this on the wall because it'll give me nightmares. The poster alone is terrifying. And that moment where Amanda Bierce transforms into a vampiress is one of the scariest movie moments I've ever seen. It came out August 2nd, 1985, written and directed by Tom Holland, not to be confused with Spider-Man, starring Chris Sarandon, William Ragsdale, Amanda Bierce, who was later gained fame on Married with Children. She was the Marcy on Married with Children. Stephen Jeffries and, of course, Roddy McDowall with a great performance. Not a huge money maker. It only earned $25 million on a $7 to $9 million budget. Nice scores on Rotten Tomatoes, 83%, 76%. But one of my all-time favorite movies. Again, a movie that just had a huge impact on me. I've watched it every year for Halloween. It was like watching The Great Pumpkin and watching Fright Night. I just could not get enough of this movie. I have since met most of the cast members. I have them, all of their signatures. There's this die-cast car manufacturer called Johnny Lightning, and they kind of covertly released Charlie's Mustang. It was red with like gray Bondo on it, and they kind of secretly released it without getting the licensing. And I had all the cast members sign that. So Chris Sarandon, Amanda Bierce, William Ragsdale, and and Stephen Jeffries all signed that piece for me. So I have it in a curio display with the VHS tape next to it, and it's one of my prized possessions. But yeah, Fright Night had such a huge impact on me, and it still stands today as my favorite horror movie of all time. Nick, your memories of Fright Night?
I loved it. That's one of my Halloween classics. I have to see it during October. I'll watch it if it's on. Didn't care much for the sequel.
I think I may have seen it once on cable, and I've never seen it again.
Sarandon has done the audiobook for Fright Night Origins, and I've been meaning to listen to that. It just came out recently, so I'm going to go check that out. But no, I love Fright. I love the story. I love the idea of Roddy McDowall's Peter Vincent. Charlie, there's nothing wrong. And then he is like, Evil, cut it out, Evil.
And then when Roddy McDowall's character, Peter Vincent, realizes, like when he has that mirror, he has a little cigarette case with a mirror, and he realized that Charlie's right the whole time. The way that plays out, it was so well done when he gets really nervous.
And then he steps on the broken piece. He goes, I guess we're going to have to. And I just I love that for a horror movie, the way it was shot, the special effects.
The prosthetics are amazing.
Oh my gosh.
For some of the prosthetics when they did when he got stabbed, when Vincent staked his friend and he was turning back into a kid, that kind of reminded me a little bit of, not the Great American Werewolf.
Werewolf in London.
Yeah, in London. That seems far more. But
it's up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there. No, I love Fright Night, the 1985 one. I have to specify.
Yeah.
Hollywood does Hollywood things.
Yeah. Great lines, great moments. And like you said, that when Peter Vincent impales Evil Ed and he transforms back into his human self, it's genuinely heartbreaking to watch. Like, you just murdered this kid, It was had some really impactful moments.
And I like that they put the horror in vampires. It wasn't like I glitter and I have like little fangs. This was monstrous, and the teeth were coming for you. Was like, the master will kill you. And I was like, oh, jeez, man.
Yeah. I interviewed Stephen Jeffries a few years ago, and I asked him, what are some of the lines that people ask you to say from the movie? And he's like, well, of course, oh, you're so cool, Brewster. But he goes, one of them that's kind of surprising is dinner is in the oven. You remember that when he's reading a note from his mom? And he's like, there's a lot of people come up to me and go, say the lines, and he obliges. And it's such a fun movie. Andrew, your memories of Fright Night?
Yeah, it was one of those movies I watched this past October to try to really catch up on a lot of the
80s.
80s, especially 80s, 70s and 80s horror movies that I had never seen, but had always wanted to. And I really liked it.
Yeah.
I could tell the Peter Vincent character was based on Peter Cushing and Vincent Price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking, like, if I were to see this when it first came out 40 years ago, it would have been pretty scary.
Yeah. It was a thrill to see it in the movie theater for the first time and not knowing what to expect.
Yeah. I went into it not knowing anything. It's just one of those movies that everyone always told me, you got to watch it when you get the chance. So I didn't read anything about it. I just went in blind, and I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Robert, your thoughts?
It's outstanding. It's one of the 1985 is a great year for horror too, and I have a couple other in here I'll discuss. But like we mentioned everything before. But one thing I will say about that film is just I really like that whole torment angle, the power dynamic between the two. And let's face it, he could have killed him many times. But he just kept tormenting him, kept stalking him. And again, it's kind of like Breakfast Club too, because so much of the film just takes place in that house.
Yeah, exactly.
And they go out and he follows around at a club and stuff. They go outside, but most of it takes place in the two houses, and they eventually collide. And it's just what a climax too.
Yeah. The whole battle and trying to outwit him and outsmart him, and use those vampire tropes of like the sunlight and stake through the heart and all that stuff.
Well, it's just like a greatest hits of all the tropes coming unfolding one after the other.
You have to have faith. Peter Vincent.
Yeah.
Faith. He's like,
Yeah.
I would just, the comedy aspect, if they had it in there, like, he tells his ghoul, so you picked this house. Yeah. A lot of windows, man. A lot of windows. Just FYI.
Yeah.
You know what I am, right?
Now, I had kind of a cool moment with Amanda Bierce. William Ragsdale and Amanda appeared together at some local horror con. I forget what it was called. And they were both there together, and so I brought my little piece in for them to sign. And I went to Amanda first, and as she's signing it, I said, you know, you and I have a bit of a history. She's like, oh, yeah? What could that possibly be? And I said, well, in 1990, I sat in the audience for Married with Children, and I got split up from my friends. My friends got seated first, and I didn't think I was going to get in. And then they were like, we have one more seat, and they put me in the front row of Married with Children. Well, during a break from filming, she came over and like sat next to me, and I'm looking back at my buddies like, look, she's sitting with me, you know? So I brought that up, and she's like, well, I don't know what it was about you. You must have had the kind face or whatever. And so then William Ragsdale comes over because I wanted to get a picture with both of them, and he's like trying to get in the picture, and she's like, hold on, I'm talking to my friend here. And he's like steps back. And so her and I got a photo together, and then she's like, okay, now you can come in. And then he steps in, and her and I were like long lost best friends. It was such a cool moment. And to meet both of them, you know, from not only, you know, Married with Children was a great show, but to meet these cast members from one of my favorite horror movies of all time, it was such a cool moment meeting these actors.
The banter between her and Ed O'Neill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On that show.
That show would not get greenlit today.
which is
right.
Which is a shame.
Yeah,
I feel.
yeah.
That'd be like all the family wouldn't get greenlit today.
Yeah. Even though they're making a point, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not
It's a satire.
glamorizing racism. They're making fun of it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I have a couple other movies on my list, but let's go around the table a little bit. Nick, is there anything from 1985 that we haven't touched on? What do you want to bring up?
Oh, mine, the testosterone stuff. I love Commando that came out, written by Jeff.
Was that
Loeb.
85?
85. This is the deep, like I said, I'll just list these up. Clue. I love Clue with Tim Curry and that cast.
That's a good one.
I enjoy that movie. I enjoyed Silver Bullet. It was a Stephen King one about werewolves. So we're talking about horror.
I really enjoy that movie too. And you know, one of the big flaws for that movie, and the creators kind of acknowledge this, is I loved everything about it. I love Gary Busey's performance. I love the child actors' performances. The major flaw of that particular movie was the werewolf. That it never really moved. There was like no animation. There was no articulation of this werewolf.
Not as good as The Howling. It's no howling.
No. Or American Werewolf or whatever. Those movies, you know, the werewolves were terrifying. And in this movie, I don't know if something went wrong with the effects budget or something like that, but the werewolf was lacking in Silver Bullet. But other than that, I loved it. And it wasn't a big earner. It only grossed $12 million on $7 million budget, and it has really low scores on Rotten Tomatoes, 43% and 56%, which surprises me because that's another movie I like to pop in around October.
Yep,
is
right on
Silver
Halloween.
Bullet. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, and this is like I said. In '85, you could go if you want animation. You had Vampire Hunter D, you had Thunderdome. Which,
Mad Max.
Mad Max, and then you had Jewel of the Nile,
The follow-up to Romancing the Stone.
Yes, and so there and Spies Like Us, Fletch. You keep going down this list, and it's like I had to, when we were doing prepping for the show, I was like, I love '85. Like there are a lot of movies that I enjoy. There's about 30 movies deep. I can't go through them all, but just Rambo 2, which is what led to the cartoon that I saw because that's the one where he has the red bandana on.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about First Blood Part 2. Is that what it is? I recently revisited First Blood, and I'm like, this is better than I remember it. Like, it was borderline, like, Oscar-worthy drama. The follow-up turned into more of your typical Stallone shoot-'em-up action flick, which is entertaining, but it sure wasn't a First Blood, but I enjoyed it.
And 85 had the other most iconic song that I loved, A View to a Kill. Duran Duran sings that song. I'm like, this is freaking. I'm like, 80s. The 85 was just. You talk about the depth of that year. I mean, I just looked down here. Movies like Daryl, a kid who had a computer put into his brain. He was like an army. Black Cauldron. When Disney took a chance and started killing people in animation, I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah. A View to a Kill, was that Roger Moore's last film? He was kind of aging out of the role. I think he might have been in his 60s or something when that came out.
He was already old when he took the role. Yeah, he was like late 40s.
He was 50 in A Spy Who Loved Me. So, yeah, he was well into his 60s in View to a Kill. So, yeah, that was his last outing.
You know, I mean, and I was looking down here, I had Explorers. These kids who
that was a fun movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they go meet aliens. I mean, they're trying to figure out how it had a young River Phoenix in it.
Yeah, I need to revisit that one. I don't own that on DVD. I need to revisit that one because I remember enjoying that.
And you know, and you guys will cover some of these other movies because I won't mention them. But you know, Val Kilmer, Real Genius. That felt like the quintessential '80s. We can do whatever we want. And they're like, you built the machine of death. Oh dear. So no, I mean, like I said, I had. When I prepped for this, outside of the iconic ones that we talked about, that would be on the Mount Rushmore for '85. My list goes 32 deep. I could put almost 40 on there. And it was weird because I'm sitting going, oh my God, I have a lot of '85 movies that spoke to me.
Yeah, that was a great time. Andrew, any titles you want to throw out?
Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I think it was one of those staples on cable for a while, and I tried watching it, but I just remember thinking, this isn't my kind of movie.
He doesn't like 12 Monkeys either.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't he get an Oscar some Oscar nominations?
So, Brazil did get some cinematography and art direction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like it because it kind of reminds me of the book 1984.
Oh, it's Orwellian a lot.
Yeah. That was the first time I saw Jonathan Pryce in anything. I'm like, oh, this dude's great. And then it's not a role that you would expect to see
De Niro.
De Niro.
Was he in Brazil?
Yeah.
I had no
Very
idea.
small supporting role.
Yeah.
I did not remember that.
It's like, wow.
How did Gilliam get him?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Well, I think, probably because of the Monty Python stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And this movie, because Robert mentioned it a while ago, it's a Scorsese film that I had never heard of called After Hours.
It's great.
Starring the guy who was in American Werewolf in London.
His friend.
Griffin Dunn.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I always forget his name. But
Yeah.
It wasn't in much after that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't really know about him. A great movie where just in Manhattan in the middle of the night, like these weird things start happening.
You'd love it,
dude.
Joe.
It's not your typical Scorsese film at all.
He just wants to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Well, let's not forget he wants to get laid, too. He wants to get laid and go home.
Yeah. I love this movie so much. I'm like, man, if I were to write a script and do a movie like this, like in downtown Detroit, it would be so much fun to do. Yeah. Anyway, Return of the Living Dead. I watched that, and that was really good. And the very next night, I watched Day of the Dead, which is Romero. And the last one I watched fairly recently, and I told you guys about To Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah, that's on my list. Yeah.
That was like better than I expected it to be.
It was. I revisited it about a year or so ago. And again, it was much better than I remembered. And one of the greatest car chases in movie history. Shocking twists.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, William Dafoe is an excellent villain.
John Turturro's in it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Another 80s time capsule. Yeah.
Great song by Wang Chung.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, To Live and Die in L.A. Yeah. Robert, any titles you want to throw out?
Well, you have to do the classing up the joint intro. Right?
You want to class up this joint and throw some mature content out?
Class it up at least 42%.
Well, Andrew stole my list, and he has like 6 on the 10 on there.
So I made this list on my phone earlier today.
So you were like, hey, can you print my list? And Andrew's like, I'd be happy to. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. You must have just watched After Hours, though, because last week you were asking about it. Did you rent it on streaming or?
No, I had watched it a while ago.
Oh,
yeah.
You were just trying to revisit it.
I wanted to watch it again because it's not anywhere streaming for free.
I got your rest.
I'd have to pay for it.
So I'll list off number 10 that I have is William Friedkin's To Live and Die in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it already how great the car chase scenes. Are we really that surprised though? This is the guy who made the French Connection.
Yeah, that's right. He did.
Yes.
Now, did he do The Exorcist?
Yes, he did. William Friedkin.
Yeah.
And he sadly passed away last year.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And iconic director. I would say this is one of his greatest films. One that gets better and better each time.
I agree.
There's part of it you're like, oh, it's a little 80s cheesy, but you know what? It still holds up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It feels like an early episode of Miami Vice in a way.
Yeah,
it does.
It really does. And just great action. It's just a great suspense drawer. I'm surprised we didn't touch on this film, Mr. Spielberg. Lover. Color Purple. Absolutely love the Color Purple.
I left it to you. I just want to point that it's on here, but
You knew I was gonna.
I leave it to the classy people.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say. I'll be like,
I'm going to put on my Andrew hat. I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah.
it.
Oh, wow.
I haven't
I don't
either.
think I've ever
Okay.
seen The Color Purple.
Well,
No.
you love to be a Spielberg completist, and I would say it's an extraordinary masterpiece. It really
Yeah.
is. Just strong performances across the board.
Is it-
Oprah
oh,
Winfrey's
I was
great
gonna say,
in it.
is it
Whoopi
Oprah?
Goldberg's
we go.
Yeah,
outstanding.
yeah.
Danny
Danny
Glover, all of
Glover,
it.
yeah.
It's just I watched the recent one. It just doesn't hold up to the
Yeah.
Spielberg one at all. And
Yeah.
a lot of heart and soul in that film. Another one I absolutely love is a Taiwanese film called Taipei Story, directed by Edward Yang. And especially with Taiwan, just how much control they're being under China over the years. Just a really refreshing seeing this film. It's just a beautiful love story about couples living in modern day Taiwan at the time and living through the political turmoil, the uncertainty of China, kind of correlated in that. Just great cinematography, a great movie. Taipei Story is the name of that. Number 7, I'm surprised we didn't talk about George Romero's Day of the Dead.
You touched on it, yeah.
Oh, did you briefly?
did a
though?
little
Okay,
bit.
I
briefly.
didn't go
Okay.
into it.
Briefly touched on it.
It's good.
Day of the Dead's outstanding. We talk about makeup effects and prosthetics. It might be blasphemy to say this, but I actually think I prefer this to Dawn of the Dead. I don't know, it's slightly more.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
I think it's slightly more sophisticated and more subversive, even though
Yeah,
you
it
can
is.
clearly say his other one is, but this one has a lot to say about how primitive we are. We're more primitive than zombies.
Yeah.
I never really saw that, and then now you see Danny Boyle kind of playing off those ideas with 20 Days Later. Now with 28 years later, you could still see Romero's influences, and Romero really is a brilliant filmmaker. We don't give him enough credit for that.
Right.
They're not just stupid zombie movies.
Yeah, there's a message.
A lot of
behind it,
rich subtext in these films dating back to Night of the Living Dead. But Day of the Dead. I think Day of the Dead is one I watched the most out of any Romero film,
Okay.
and just that whole military stuff and
Yeah.
the zombie picking up the gun. Oh, it's just great stuff. Bub.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great character. You touched on it, but of course, Back to the Future would be my top 10. We have nothing else much. We already touched on everything about that. Brazil. I think Brazil, especially in these Orwellian times that we live in, remains timeless. I remember revisiting that movie because I loved it in the 90s. When I watched 12 Monkeys, they always played the trailer for Brazil on the VHS tape, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to check out this Brazil movie." And I loved it as a kid. And then I revisited it in the 2000s, George W. Bush era with the Patriot Act. I was like, "Oh wow, it's there." Now watching it again in the Trump era, it's like, "Well, we still in massive NSA, and it still has that surveillance, the militarized police themes going on, and just really about oligarch society because it's really about all those topics." And number 4 is the Scorsese After Hours. Please,
yeah,
I think you liked it too.
Yeah.
So Joe, I think you'd love it.
It is.
It's a breeze. It's 95 minutes.
Yeah,
It's called what? After
After
Hours?
Hours.
I've
Yes.
never even
Cheech
heard of that.
Same
one.
here.
Cheech and Chong have a great
Yes.
cameo in it. Not to reveal it, but oh my
I
god.
should let him borrow. He's got an idea.
Yeah,
Let
I
him
own,
borrow
I
it.
own the Blu-ray.
Alright.
The
It's really
Criterion.
good.
It is. It's just so energetic, so
Alright.
so dizzying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those nerve-wracking movies. It's one of those movies like Falling Down, Do the Right Thing. It takes place in the course of a day. I like those type of films. And then number 3, I got Mishima. This is written and directed by Paul Schrader, who did Raging Bull and Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
This is a kind of like The Hours, where the film does multiple narratives, non-linear. You're going in certain points of the writer Yukio Mishima. So he actually talked about insurrections. This guy did an insurrection in Japan, and he did that Supuko.
Oh yeah, the honor suicide.
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
seppuku.
Seppuku is what
Yeah,
he did.
yeah.
But at any rate, Joe, this film, if you watch that, you see a lot of Trumpian parallels in the film too, because he was radicalized. He believed in a traditional Japan. He didn't like the evolving Japan. He wrote a lot of great novels. He challenged a lot of Marxists, and he would confront them and all that stuff. But Paul Schrader's always been fascinated with fascism in his films. He's touched on it many times. Taxi Driver kind of explores that radicalization, and he did it in The Comfort of Strangers with Christopher Walken's character. Paul Schrader is just a brilliant writer. I think this is one of his finest films that he ever directed. I think it's his best film. He would later on to go do First Reformed.
Right.
And number 2, I got Akira Kurosawa's Ran, which is based on the Shakespearean story, King Lear, Japanese version of Shakespeare. Who would have thought? It's a very sweeping movie, great set pieces. It's like Peter Jackson would admit, and George Lucas produced it, but Peter Jackson said, I was influenced by the battle sequences in Ran 4 is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, yeah.
And then my favorite film of the year came out at Sundance in '84, got a theatrical in '85, and that's the Coen brothers film Blood Simple.
Okay.
Yeah, that was their first film.
That was their first film,
Yeah.
and I would
Wow.
I would put that up there with Citizen Kane.
It is really
It is one of the finest debut films ever made,
Wow.
and the Coens are always looked at as filmmakers that transcend genre, and they do definitely do this. They take the film genre and they certainly elevate it. They transcend it. Frances McDormand, I mean, it plays with the roles. A woman having an affair, husband finds out, they try to kill him to get his money, but it takes all these great twists and it starts going in different directions that you don't anticipate when you first watch. And the end result's a very intense movie, very gripping film that have you at the edge of your seat. That ending, oh my God, with the actor who played, or do you remember his name? At any rate, God, he died, but he was in Raising Arizona as well. But yeah, he plays the hitman in the film, and it's just a brilliant confrontation at the not early Armory, but it's similar to that. But
Emmett Walsh.
Yes, Emmett Walsh. Sorry,
Okay.
Emmett Walsh has a great role in this film, but Blood Simple is an essential piece of cinema.
Yeah.
All right. See, and
That's
this
great.
is why
That's right.
Robert is here.
Yes, and I forget name. I can't believe I forgot his name.
But no, but he classes up the joy because I would have been like, "Hey, have you guys seen Weird Science?"
Yeah. I'm surprised you guys didn't bring that one up.
Teen Wolf.
Another movie we didn't touch on, but we did go into depth about it on our Western episode. But the movie Silverado came out in July of 1985. That's one of my, not just one of my favorite Westerns, but one of my all-time favorite movies with a stellar
Lawrence
cast.
Kasdan did that.
Who's that? What's
Lawrence
that?
Kasdan.
Yeah. Lawrence Kasdan
Did we also have,
wrote and directed it.
Didn't we have Pale Rider also this year too? In 1985, we have Pale Rider.
That I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And one thing I just wanted to say, just to close out, I know this is considered a 1984 film, but Beverly Hills Cop came out in December of 1984. So you would imagine it had the bulk of its run in 1985. And I just recently watched Beverly Hills Cop again. As a matter of fact, it was the first movie I watched in my new apartment that I just moved into. And boy, does that still hold up. One of the greatest movies ever made. It's definitely top 20 for me. It's just such a great
Everybody loves Akmel.
Ackwell, Foley, lots of great lines in that.
Donnie,
And
go get him a cappuccino, a latte.
with a lemon twist.
Yeah.
If it's not too much trouble, of course not. Don't be stupid.
We had a great discussion last year in '84 cinema.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop was part of that discussion last year.
So it had most of its legs in '85, but it'll always be considered an '84 movie. But it did come out in December. So on that note, we're gonna wrap up. Yep.
I got something to play.
Go ahead.
Will it actually make it?
Hey, shit! What a dream I was having!
That was Miss Ramsey from Goonies earlier. That was the quote I was thinking of.
I did see this. I'll play this for you, even though this isn't 1985. But
Hey, shit!
oh, that's it.
Yeah,
that was
that's
the
the
same
one.
clip. Yeah.
Louis Armstrong was trying to kill me! Get away from me, you horse's ass!
I mean,
That's a great note to
Cartman,
end on.
it's Cartman.
It does sound
It is
like Cartman.
quick shout out also to Rocky 4 that came out this year because we lost Apollo Creed.
A lot of people love Rocky 4, but I'm a Rocky 3 guy. Even though, of course, the first one is an Oscar-worthy film, but I'm Rocky 3.
And The Last Dragon, show enough.
There. On that note, that was a fun tribute to 1985, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Have a great 4th of July.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Come to the movies, watch Charlie Chaplin, and put some sunshine into your day. Forget the hard times, come to the movies, and try to laugh your troubles away.